Welcome. In this video lecture, I am going to talk about the correlation analysis using R. So first of all, we will discuss how we can perform the correlation analysis using Excel, and then we will discuss with R. So basically, when we are saying that regarding the correlation analysis perspective, under what circumstances we can apply these techniques. So if we talk about with respect to the research process, so finding a research problem is the step number one, and then we do some related literature, and then we develop some hypothesis. If your hypothesis is to check the relationship between variables, okay, or check the correlation between the variables, we can go for the correlation and the regression analysis. So there are different types of correlation analysis depending upon the data types, which we will discuss later, as well as there are different type of regression analysis such as simple linear regression, multiple linear regression, logistic regression. So depending upon the situation, we can pick the appropriate technique. Similarly, if you want to check the difference between the variables, then we can go for the testing of hypotheses, such as if we want to check whether the male and the female are equally good in the mathematics score or not. So we want to check between the difference between the male and the female. So in such case, we can apply the two tests. Similarly, there is a situation when we can apply ANOVA, ANCOVA, and so on. So the question is over here is whether you want to check the difference between the variables or whether you want to check the relationship or the correlation between the variables. So based on that, we can pick the appropriate statistical techniques. So in this lecture, we are going to talk about regarding the correlation perspective. So when we are saying the correlation, basically we need to, whenever we want to quantify the relationship between the variable, whether we can compute the covariance or whether we can compute the correlation. So now what's the difference? So normally the covariance is basically indicating the direction of the linear relationship between the variables. Okay. So whether by increasing the one variable, the what's the effect on the other variable, whether it is also increasing or whether it is also decreasing. Okay. So depending upon by increasing one variable, what's the effect, or you can say what's the direction of the other variable. So in order to compute the covariance between the two variables, how we can do that? The formula is over here. So x is representing the first variable and x bar is the average of that variable. The second variable is y, and this is the average of the second variable, where I and j is representing the different observations. So we multiply this one and then taking the average. So this is basically the covariance, which is just like a variance if we have only a single variable, because in a variance formula, that is basically the variance of x. What we are doing is we are saying that xi minus x bar square over n. So which means we can repeat this two times, because in a covariance there are two variables. So which means we can say that the deviation of the first and the deviation from the mean of the observation of the second variable, we multiply those two components and sum them and taking the average, that would be called as a covariance. Okay, so when we are calculating the covariance, as we have say that it is basically calculating how the two variables are depending on each other. So higher the number, that is indicating the higher the dependency on each other. So the covariance answer can be range from minus infinity to positive infinity, and it is also a scale dependent. Okay, so depending upon what's the scale of x and y, so we can multiply those variables and then find out the scale of the covariance. Whereas if we want to check the relationship between the two variables, we can also calculate, instead of the covariance, we can calculate the correlation, which is basically calculating the two components, direction as well as the strength. Okay, whereas covariance is only calculating the direction of the two variables. So it is calculating both the direction as well as strength between the two variables. And remember that when we are saying the correlation, which we will talk about, that is basically we are calculating the linear relationship between the two variables. Okay, not the non-linear one, we are calculating the linear one. So the advantage of the correlation is basically it is using the standardized value instead of the actual, you can say, variable. Actual variable mean it is not depending upon any particular unit. Okay, whereas covariance is not using the standardized value, so that's why the answer of the covariance is unit dependent. So correlation is basically the standardized value, and how we can standardize the answer of the correlation by dividing the covariance answer with the standard deviation of variable first variable and with the standard deviation of the second variable. So the answer would be called as a correlation. So as we have discussed earlier, so the correlation is basically calculating the strength between the two variables. Okay, and the answer would be in comparison to the covariance, so which is basically lying between -1 to +infinity. The correlation and answer, due to the standardization, it is always lying between -1 to +1. So we can say that if the answer of the correlation coefficient is -1, basically this negative sign is indicating the direction. The value of 1 is basically indicating the strength of the variables between two variables. So -1 mean they have the perfect negative relationship. So you can say that by increasing the one variable, all the others, all the values of the other variables is also decreasing. Okay, so by increasing one variable, the other variable's value is decreasing. Okay, or you can say the 100% values of the one variable, if it is decreasing, the other variable's value is increasing. So they have the inverse relationship. If it is, the answer is +1, so again positive is indicating the direction and 1 is indicating the strength, so they have the direct relationship, or you can say a positive relationship. So they have the unidirection. If one variable is 100% increasing, the other variable values are also 100% increasing. Whereas if the one value is 100% decreasing, the other values is also decreasing. If the value is 0, so that means there is no relationship between the two variables. So that means if the answer is like -0.6, so that is indicating the 60% values of one variable. If it is increasing, the other variable's value is decreasing, right? So similarly, the positive 0.4 mean the 40% of the variable, one variable is increasing, the other is also increasing, or you can say that the 40% values of one variable is decreasing, the other variable is also decreasing. So they have the unidirection, right? So this is the main difference between the covariance and the correlation. I hope you got the idea regarding the covariance and the correlation, because correlation is using the standardized value, so they are not the unit focus. Okay, so they will provide us in the answer between -1 to +1, okay, which is unitless. Okay, that is indicating the strength between the two variables as well as the direction between the two variables. If we move towards more than two variables, so then we can develop a variance covariance matrix. So this is basically a variance covariance matrix. Okay, so in variance covariance matrix, actually the diagonal values are the variances of the variable. So you can say that if this is x0 variable, this is x1 variable, this is x2 variable, so this is x0, this is x1, this is x2. So this value is basically indicating the variance of x0 variable. This is indicating the variance of x1 variable. This is a variance of x2 variable. Whereas sigma square 0, 1 is indicating the covariance between x0 variable and x1 variable. Okay, so similarly we can represent the correlation matrix. Okay, so the correlation matrix can be represented with, okay, that is 0, 0. Okay, or you can say normally this would be 1. Okay, so this would also be 1, this would also be 1. Okay, over here in a correlation matrix, so this would be 1, this would be 1, this would be 1, and this would be written as 0, 1, 0, 2. So that is the correlation between x0 variable and x1 variable, x0 and x2. Okay, similarly x1 and x2 variables. Okay, so you can develop the correlation matrix as well as the various covariance matrix if you have the multiple variables. Okay, now let's calculate the variance, covariance values between the two variables in which we are interested to find out the relationship as well as the correlation. So for that, I'm using a data which is the exam anxiety data. So where we have the code, which is basically you can say represent the independent participant score, the first participant score, the second participant score, and this is basically indicating how many time he has revised. Okay, mean the total hours he spent in time to revise the syllabus. Okay, that is basically in hours, whereas exam is indicating the exam percentage score, or you can say exam performance, whereas anxiety is basically there in anxiety questionnaire answer is, that is if there is a 80% anxiety, what's the exam performance and so on, and we also have the gender. And now we want to find out the correlation as well as the covariance between the exam performance and the anxiety. So let's do that with Excel first, and then later we will discuss in the R. Okay, so how we can do that in Excel? So first of all, I'm calculating manually, means with the help of Excel, and then we will also use the formula of the Excel in order to calculate the correlation. Okay, so for from this data set, which is basically the exam anxiety data, which is basically 103 participants data. Okay, so I have picked only the exam variable and then anxiety variable. Okay, so for that, first of all, if I want to calculate the covariance, so the formula of the covariance is x minus x bar. So for that, I need to calculate the average of exam performance as well as the anxiety. So for that, I have calculated the average of this, that is basically the average formula from the Excel, and we have selected all these values. Okay, so this is basically the average of an anxiety, as well as we have used the standard deviation formula. So either you can use the population standard deviation of the sample like STD. So you can use population of the sample. So right now I'm using a population standard deviation, and the range of the data is the same. So this is basically the standard deviation of the exam anxiety. Similarly, we can find out the exam performance. Sorry. So the exam anxiety perspective, if we say that the average is this one and this is the standard deviation. So now in order to calculate the covariance, first of all, we need to calculate the first component, that is each value minus x bar. So for that, I have calculated dx. Okay, and how we can do that? This value 40 minus average of this one. So we have done this by freezing the value of b 105. Okay, once we have applied this particular formula, so we can drag and drop, okay, till over here, right? So this is basically the x minus x bar. Similarly, we can calculate y minus y bar. So this is the value of y minus the average of this one. Okay, and we can calculate the y minus y bar, right? If I drag and drop till over here. Now, in order to find out the covariance, this is x minus x bar, this is y minus y bar. So we need to multiply this one. So that's why we have multiplied these two columns. Okay, once we have done, again we can drag and drop. And then if I find the average of this particular column, okay, if I find the average of this particular column, which is over here, so this is basically a covariance. Okay, that is the formula of the covariance, which is indicating that exam anxiety as well as anxiety as well as exam performance have the inverse relationship. So we can say that as the anxiety level increases, so the exam performance decreases. Now let's find out the correlation. So how we can do that? The formula for that is covariance, okay, divided by the standard deviation of x divided by the standard deviation of y. So covariance we have calculated over here, which is F05 divided by standard deviation of x and standard deviation of y. So this is basically the correlation coefficient, right? So this is how we can manually calculate it. Similarly, you can also calculate using Excel. The formula for that is basically the correlation, okay, corl, and we have to pick the first range of the data. Okay, that is basically x, and then y range of the data. Okay, that is this one. So this is correlation. So you can see that they have the same answer. So how we can interpret this one? So we can say that 44% of the time when the anxiety level increases, the exam performance decreases. Okay, so this is how you can find out the correlation using Excel. So now let's discuss a bit more about the correlation perspective. So as we have already discussed, basically the correlation is basically quantify the strength between the two variables, okay, and the relationship basically that is must be the linear relationship it would be able to quantify. If the two variables do not have the linear relationship, or you can say the straight line, okay, then it wouldn't be able to calculate the correlation which we are applying. That is basically right now in Excel we have applied the Pearson correlation. So what is that, we will discuss later as well. So the formula we have applied, which is basically the Pearson correlation coefficient. So in order to apply the Pearson correlation coefficient, which is basically quantify the strength of the linear relationship between the two quantitative variables, okay, that means that must be the continuous variables, okay, then we can find out the correlation. So in order to apply the Pearson correlation coefficient, we have some assumptions we will discuss later, but I hope you have cleared that we can calculate the correlation coefficient, which is the Pearson correlation coefficient, if you are interested to find out the strength of the linear relationship between the two continuous variables. Okay. So you can also graphically represent the relationship between the two variables with the help of the scatter plot, which is on x-axis there is a one variable, on a y-axis, and these dotted lines are basically representing, each dot is representing the value of x1 against the value of x2. Similarly, this dot line is indicating the value of x and against that the value of x2. So if these dotted line are, as you can see over here, basically this is indicating as the value of x1 increases, the value of x2 is also increasing. So they have the relationship, or you can say the positive relationship. So if we calculate the correlation coefficient from this data point, they said this is the 0.9. So we can say that 90% of the time when x1 increases, x2 is also increases. Over here we have the weak relationship, which is 0.1. Okay, so only 10% of the time when x increases, x2 is also increasing, or it is near to the zero, we can say that it might be possible they have not the significant relationship between the two variables. Okay, over here we have the negative relationship. So as we have seen that if the correlation coefficient, mean the answer of the correlation which can be represented with R, the answer of the R is always lying between -1 to +1, as we have already discussed. If the answer is exactly positive, so this would be called as a strong positive relationship. If zero, then we will say there is a no relationship or a very little relationship. Okay, near to zero if it is. Okay, exactly zero, that means there is no relationship. -1 means there is a strong negative relationship. So this is how we can descriptively quantify the value of the R, which is basically the correlation coefficient. So in order to test it, okay, whether this correlation coefficient between the two variables is significant or not, we need to apply the testing of hypothesis. For that, our H naught is that there is no correlation between the two variables, or we can write down technically the rho is equal to 0, okay, which means there is no correlation between the two variables, or alternative there is a relationship, or there is a correlation between the two variables. So this is two sample t-test. Okay, this is two-sided two-tailed t-test. Okay, two-tailed test. Whereas it could be possible that we can say that rho is less than or equal to 0, or alternative is greater than 0. Okay, so or we can say that H naught, the rho is greater than or equal to 0, or alternative is rho is less than 0. So these two is called as one tail test. Okay, so depending upon how you want to test whether there is a relationship with respect to only the two tails. So that means it is equal to 0 or it is not equal to 0. It could be less than 0 or greater than 0. But there is, we also see the direction whether it is a negative or the positive. Okay. So this thing we will perform in R later. But before discussing what kind of the correlation techniques we have, first of all, let's discuss, because most of the time we are confusing with the causation concept as well as the correlation. So when we are saying we are interested to find out the correlation between the variables, that means we want to check whether the two variables are relating with each other or not. Okay, but that doesn't mean the action A or the variable A is causing to increase B or decreasing B. Okay, if this is the case, if one is causing to increase, decrease, or increase, then there is a causation concept, that is a cause and effect relationship. Okay, like if we say that if action A is causing to outcome the B, or you can say increasing the B or decreasing the B. So here is the example, like we are saying that healthier people have the better social relationship, so they have some correlation or the relationship. Similarly, we are saying also live longer, so better health also long live. Okay, if you have a better health, so there is a strong relationship that you will live long, so there is a relationship. But there is no correlation, there is no relationship, okay, between the social relationship and the long life. But we can say that if you have a good social relationship, then you may have a longer life. Okay, because the social relationship causing the better health and it leads to the longer life. That is basically, you can say, in order to causing something else. Let's take some more example. Similarly, we can say that traffic jam can cause the bad mood. Okay. Similarly, traffic jam can cause the tidiness, whereas bad mood and the tidiness has a correlation. If there is a high, more and more bad mood we have, there is more and more tidiness we have. Okay. Similarly, we can take another example, that is hot weather causes higher sales in the ice cream. Okay. Similarly, hot weather can be higher sale in sunburn creams. Okay, but there is a relationship. As the sale of ice cream increases, we can say that the sunburn cream is also increasing due to the hot weather. So there is a relationship. Okay. Similarly, over here and over here. So I hope you have clear regarding what is the difference between the correlation and the causation. Now, the question is, under what circumstances we can pick what kind of the correlation technique we can apply. Okay. So as we know that the correlation is basically quantifying the relationship between the two variables. If the relationship between the two variables are the quantitative variables, okay, like whether we want to going to apply the parametric correlation coefficient technique while we are quantifying the relationship between the two variables, or the non-parametric technique, or the partial correlation coefficient. So let's first discuss the parametric technique. Okay, when we are saying the parametric correlation coefficient, which mean that out of the two variables, at least one of the variable must be quantitative variable. Okay, and it should be follow the normal distribution. Okay, then the data must follow the normal distribution. So there is a two main condition. One is that it should be quantitative and it should be follow normal distribution. So in order to apply the Pearson product movement correlation coefficient, which we have calculated using Excel earlier, so for that, both the variable must be the quantitative variable, as well as the both the variables must follow the normal distribution, mean the data must follow the normal distribution. Then you can apply the Pearson product movement correlation coefficient. So there is other two techniques as well in a parametric correlation coefficient. One is biserial correlation, another is called as a point biserial, because both of them are depending upon the Pearson correlation coefficient. So for that, one of that variable must be a quantitative variable and it must be follow the normal distribution. But the other variable, because we are going to apply biserial or a point biserial, so other variable must have the two category. Okay, that's why that particular variable is called as dichotomous variable. Okay, so now the question is, under what circumstances we can apply point biserial correlation, or under what condition we can apply a biserial correlation coefficient. Okay, so point biserial correlation coefficient is actually the Pearson correlation coefficient mathematically. Okay, but we will apply the point biserial correlation under the circumstances when one of the variable is a dichotomous variable, and it's a true dichotomous variable, or you can say it's a discrete or true dichotomous variable. True mean like such as gender, so it should be a true, whether it should be a male or a female, a boy or a girl. Okay, so it's a true dichotomous variables exam. Whereas biserial correlation can be applied when one of the variable is artificially dichotomous. Okay, artificially dichotomous means we are made that continuous variable in a dichotomous form, such as you can say the marks. Okay, for example, we have a variable that is called as marks as well as the anxiety level. Okay, and students has the marks 80 marks. Okay, 70, 75, 30, 31. Okay, so how we can make the dichotomous variable? We can say that higher than 30 is pass. Okay, and less than or equal to 30 would be the fail student. So now we are forcing or artificially making the variable dichotomous type, okay, in a binary form. So in such case we should apply the biserial correlation coefficient. So I hope you got the idea under what circumstances we can apply the Pearson correlation coefficient, and under what circumstances we can apply the point biserial and then the biserial. Now let's come that, let's say if the variables are the quantitative variables, or even if it is on a ordinal scale type of variable, mean the data do not follow the normal distribution, then we can apply the Pearson rank correlation, or either we can apply the Kendall's correlation coefficient. So usually it is recommended that if the data set is small, then you can go for the Kendall's correlation coefficient. Otherwise, you can also apply the Pearson correlation coefficient. And the third option we have, if the data do not follow the normal distribution, we can adopt the bootstrapping. So what is bootstrapping is basically it is a with replacement sampling. Okay, like for example, I am saying that the sample we have taken is, let's say, from the 5 different participants. Okay, the participant number 1, he has the marks 80, or let's say I am applying the bootstrapping on a variable marks. The second participant has the marks 75, the third participant having the marks 90, the fourth participant having the marks 65, and the fifth one is 60. Now I want to generate samples, mean I want to apply the bootstrapping. And what the bootstrapping do is it will generate with replacement sampling. Okay, like if I want to generate based on these 5 respondent more 5 samples, so it will do that with a replacement. Okay, so out of these marks he will with replacement pick the 5 numbers more. Okay, like it could be this one again, the second participant is also 75. Okay, the third participant may be 80, 65. Okay, maybe 75. Then again we are drawing a with replacement, let's say 75, again 80, the second student got 80 and 90 and so on. So you can generate as many number of samples as possible, it should be with replacement. And based on this data which we have increased from 5 to maybe 1000 or 10,000, so that data may start following the normal distribution. So then with the help of the bootstrapping we can apply the even non-parametric correlation coefficient, or even apply the parametric correlation coefficient. Okay, so this is basically all these techniques are the bivariate correlation coefficient. Now we come to the partial correlation coefficient, or we can say the partial correlation. So under what circumstances? So normally when we are representing the correlation, that is representing with small r, or we can say 1 2, that means correlation between x1 and x2. Okay, but when we are talking about the correlation coefficient of the point bias area, it is normally represented RP, and this is normally representing with RB. Similarly, the Spearman correlation coefficient, normally you can simply represent R, or sometimes people can represent with rho, or this is normally representing with tau. Okay, but you can also say that that is Kendall's correlation coefficient. Whereas the partial correlation coefficient is normally representing with 1 2 3, because over here in partial correlation coefficient we want to find out the relationship between the two variable by controlling the third one. Mean we will assume that the third variable is constant, or you can say by removing the effect of the third variable we want to find out the relationship between the two variables, such as we have seen exam performance if there is a variable, and then we have the an anxiety, and then there is a revision. Okay, we want to find out the correlation between exam performance and then anxiety variable by removing the effect of the revision. Okay, so that is basically a controlled variable. So if we are doing this, so there is a mathematical way to calculate this one. So in that scenario we can apply the partial correlation coefficient. So how we can do that in our, we will discuss in the next video. So we will, in the next video we will talk about all these correlation coefficient, how we can do that in R. We will also test some assumptions as we have discussed regarding the Pearson correlation coefficient, that the data must follow the normal distribution. Similarly, we will also check how we can draw the scatter plot using R. So thank you so much. See you in the next video.